Video number 5 in our video series regarding the use of SUMO for traffic simulations. In today's video, we're going to continue with our earlier example, but in this case, we're going to use the other software that comes with the SUMO to simulate what we used the code earlier. So I started with the code because that of the code is somehow more difficult than the one we're going to do today. But once you understand and get how the codes work, so you don't have any issue. So now what you just once you have installed the Sumo, so you just go to the search bar and you now write net edit. That is NET, then edit. So it will come up, so you can double click on it. So just type net edit, so you see it will have this kind of a sign, so just double click on it. So when you double click, it will now open. So you go to the file, then you can click on the new network, so the interface will now open. Okay, now here you have the network, you have the demand, and you have the data. So in today's example, we're going to use some of the icons for the network and at the same time for the demand. So let me start with the network. Once you come, this is called a kind of a inspect or a selector. Before you can be able to select any component of the network, so you need to click on this. And this is if you want to delete something, and this is the selection mode. So this is the edge. If you want to draw the edge, this is a traffic light. This is the connection of a junction. And then let's say, like for instance, okay, let me start with the basic ones. Uh, you see, if you want to draw an edge, this is where you're going to click. So you see, when you now click it, it will draw the edge. So here, if you want it to be continuous, then you can now click on this. So you see, it will now be what? Continuous. So once you are done, you can press the escape. So but look at this is a kind of a one way. So if I want to draw a two-way, so I have to click on this. So here you see it will be two-way. That is two directional flow. So that is how to do it. So if you want to delete, so you just click on all of this and they will go. So click and they will go. Like for instance, if you want to see the properties of this, so you can click on the inspection mode, that is the selector. So you click on it. So it will going to give you the properties. You remember when we are writing the code, we use ID, so you can maybe uh, edit whatever you want to edit. Let's say maybe you call this one the ID N1, the ID started, or let me say let's say the ID we call it 1 to 2, for instance. Let's say 1 to 2. Then the where it started, maybe we set from N1, for instance, maybe to N2. So you can set the speed at which the vehicle can move, that is the maximum speed they can move on the road. So maybe you can set 50, you can set whatever. The default of the Sumo is 13 point something. The priority, so this is you want to give a priority to the road in case of maybe you have a lot of traffic. So the number of lane and this. So let's start from the example we did earlier. Then from there we can be explaining the things that are needed to be explained. Let me just go back to the drawing we have been using. So this is the drawing. So we have our N1, I have my N2, and I have my N3. So in the first example, we use a single way whereby the vehicle just move like that. So here you just need to get the uh, that is the coordinate in terms of the x and y. Here you have minus 500, 0, minus 250, 0, minus 150, and 200. So here you don't have any issue. So you can just click here. You can decide to draw anything that you want. Once you are done, you now click on this. But remember, I just need the one way. So let me just delete all these things. So if you want it to be one way, then when you click on the edge, so you have to this thing. So if you want it to be continuous, then you have to click here like so. Let me just say this is what we had earlier. But now I want to change the properties of this in order to just have the characteristics specified here. So what I will just do is this. So I will just come to the select. So you can now click on the note. So we call our node as what? As N1. That is the name. So here the position, you need to specify the position. You double click in it, specify the position in terms of X and Y. So here we have this one to be minus 500 and 0. So the X is minus. So you start with the X. So I can say minus 500, then comma, so 0. So I can now say this. So that particular node will take this particular distance. So I can now select this second node, which we call N2. And from our example, the coordinate is minus, double click in it is minus, I think 250, then comma 0. So you see, I will have this. So now I need to select this as well. So you select this. So you say this is called what? Our entry. So you also need to what? Need to specify the double click in it. So here our x is minus 150, that is minus 150, then sorry, minus 150, then the y is what? Let me check the drawing. Or the y is 200. So you can now say comma 200. So you see, this is exactly what we obtained using the code. So you see, this one is just simpler than this thing. So now remaining the edge, you remember in our code we say this is the edge is 3 and the speed is I think 45. Then this one, the number of lane is what? Is 2 and the speed is 15. So we still use the selector. So once you select the edge, so it will give you this. And you remember here we give it an ID 1 to 2. So we say 1 to 2. So it started from N1 to N2. And the speed here, we're going to use the speed we use in an initial example. So we say 45. Even the priority, in our example, we use 3. So we're going to use that particular 3. Then under the number of lanes, so here it will going to be 3 because in our example is 3. So you just press one word, enter. So you see you have increased the number of lane to what? To 3. So we'll do the same operation here. So here we call it that is 2 to 3. That is the ID. It started from N2 to this thing. The speed here we used 15 in our example, so we're going to maintain that. The priority I think is 3. We use 3 there. So the number of lane here we use what? We use 2. So you can now click on what? Enter. So you can now see that the connection is not properly done. So don't worry. Just click on the select mode. Then you can now click on the connection. So you see it has automatically give you the connection. So that means vehicle on this particular distance will move here at rest. So now if you want to assign a traffic to this, then you can just come to the click on the demand. So you have many ways of assigning, but that is assigning a kind of a vehicles onto this. If you want, you can use the route, which is the one we adopted while using the code. If you don't want, you can use some other methods. So let us just start with the other method first. Like for instance, if you want to allocate a vehicles to this network, so you click on this vehicle mode. So here you have a variety of options. So here you can say you want the vehicle to move from uh, trip to move from edge to edge, that is from here to this. Then you want it to move from to junction, that is maybe it will start from here and terminate at this junction, or it will start from this junction and terminate at the other one. So if you want it, you can make it to be this thing. Maybe if you have this trip distribution, you can do that. So if you just want a kind of a vehicle over a route that you have built, so you can use this, and you have the embedded route. So let us just start with the first one. Let's say trip over edge. So first I will select the first edge, then I will select the second edge. So I will just click on enter. So you see now it has already placed the vehicle, and it's expected that this particular vehicle will move from here to the last edge. So now what I will do is this, like if you want to change the characteristics of this particular vehicle, so you click on the select mode, then you now click on the vehicle. So you see this is the you can change the ID of the vehicle. So this is T1. So here if you want, you can change the color of the vehicle. Let's take blue. So let's say maybe accept. So you see it has changed. Like if you want to change the vehicle type, so you can click on that. uh, that is, this is the type, so you click on the type, then you can click here. So you have variety of them. So we have the taxi, the buses, the truck, and the rest. But maybe if you want to model something that are not here, we're going to see how we can do that. Like for instance, if you want to model a tricycle, because here we don't have any tricycle, because this is I think the software is created by the Germans. So, and I think they are not using this tricycle. So maybe if you want to localize your research, so there is a need for you to do that. So let us just change this one to a normal passenger car, blue. So let's just take it to be a passenger car. So here you can change so many things if you so wish. Like for instance, if you want to change the length of the car, so you can do that. If you want to change the maximum speed at which the car can move, you can do that. This is the acceleration. So you remember when we are writing the code, we use acceleration, we use deceleration, the sigma, and the rest. So let's assume, okay, let us now go for the simulation. So to simulate, you have to go to the file. So you click on the file, then you can now save the network first. So you can say save the network as. So now you need to choose a folder. So let me just use this folder uh, because it will give you option here. You can decide to change where you want it to be saved. So let me just save it here. I will call it maybe 2. And you can now say what? Okay. So now I have saved the network. So now remain the what? Remain the simulation. That is the SUMO. So now you go to the edit. You remember the first one, we click on file, then you go to the save network as. So we save the network. So now if you want to run the simulation, so you click on edit, and then you now click on what you now click on open with SUMO distance. So here you need to also save it. So let me just save it as 2, because the other one I used 2. So let me just use 2 with this as well, so that I will know that this simulation is for that. So now uh, it will going to open the SUMO simulation. So you see here, you don't need to do a lot of things, so it will run the simulation. So you can now see this is the vehicle. So if you want to increase the delay, you can do that. So if you don't want it to be in this particular form, like I said earlier, you go to the edit, then the edit visualization, then you now click on the vehicle, then you now choose what? You now choose the raster image. So you now click on what? Okay. So if you now refresh this and run the simulation again, so you see it will going to uh, like change from the triangle to this. So maybe if you want to edit this network, so from here you can revert back to the or maybe opened the net edit from the SUMO simulation distance. So you just click on the edit. So you see here it says open SUMO config. So you just click on it. So it will going to open your network in the net edit. So here, if this network is open, so you can add additional vehicle if you so wish. Like for instance, maybe let's say, okay, let me okay, now let me use like two different distinct. So the first one, let me just take. So this time, let's take maybe trip from edge to edge. So to see how it works. So when you say this, so that means the trip will start from one edge to a junction and it will terminate. Like for instance, if I click here, so first you need to click the first node, which is the junction. Then you now click the second node. Then you can now press enter. So you see it has already uh, placed this particular distance. So if you want to change the properties of this particular vehicle, so just click here. So here you can see you can change so many things. Like for instance, if I want to change the color, let me just make this one blue and I will just say what accept. So maybe I want to add another one. So I can say from this to okay, let me go back. Let me click here. So let me just add another vehicle. So let me just say from here to this. So I can now say okay. So you see it has placed the vehicle. So you can as well. Why is it this direction has changed? So let me just delete it. Let me just delete this. So let me okay. That is from this. So I choose the first. Then I choose the second. So I can now click. So you see now it has this. So if I want to change the properties of this, maybe to make it like a kind of a boss, so I will click on this select mode. So I will click on the vehicle. So here you will now click on the type. So under this, you can select the type of the vehicle you want. So you have truck, you have everything that this is, and all these ones they are being using a kind of a standard emission factor for the European countries for each of these particular different vehicle classes. So let me just choose bus for this. So now I can run the simulation again. So I can go to the edit. So I can now open the SUMO listing. So let me just increase the delay so that I can see the vehicles moving. So you can now, so you see this one, it will start here and terminate at this junction, and this will have started from here and it will definitely terminate here. So this is how to this thing. Like for instance, if you want to uh, like place the vehicle on a particular route that you have created, because in certain situation you're going to have a kind of a road network whereby the vehicles need to move in a particular route. So there is a way to do it. So let me just show you that. Like for instance, if you want the vehicles to be on a specified route, so it's very simple. So you go to the demand. So this time around, I'm not going to go to the vehicle directly. So I will click on the route mode. So you select the first edge, then you now select the second edge. So if you are done, you can click on the finish route creation. If you don't want that, you can just click on enter. So this time around, let me just add a kind of a flow instead of a single vehicle. So I can now click on this particular vehicle sign. So I can now click here. So let me just say flow over route. So I will click on that. Then I will click on this yellow the yellow line. So you see it has already listed. Here you can also edit a lot of things regarding this. So you see here you can even specify the number of the vehicle you want and the time that you want the vehicle to be within the simulation. Let's say this is we want the simulation to be for an hour, and the number of the vehicle that are supposed to be in the simulation here is 1800. So you can make it 750, you can make it this is depending on the number of the vehicle you obtained from the from the uh, field survey. So here you can change a lot of things. So let's say enter. So we can run the simulation again. So you go to the edit. So you now open the SUMO district. So now we can we just refresh this. So now run the so you see so let's increase the delay. Okay, so now run the simulation. So let's refresh, then run the simulation. So you see now the vehicles will now be what? They will now be mean, and they will follow the route that we have created. So you see uh, here we have created the route before we now assign the vehicles on the route. While in the first scenario, we assign the vehicles uh, from edge to edge, then we assign the vehicle from starting point to a particular junction. Then now we see how you can assign different distance of the vehicle.